I'm Amy Risseeuw. I'm an attorney with Peterson, Berk and Cross. I practice plaintiff's personal injury law. That is the legal way of saying I represent people who've been hurt, whether it's been in a car accident or a fall, but always due to someone else's negligence. We have offices in Green Bay and Appleton. I have been practicing in the personal injury field. Well, I've been working in the field for about 20 years now. I've been an attorney with Peterson, Berk and Cross since 2005. Today, I want to go through something that I see happens a lot with my clients. Like I said, I represent people who've been hurt, typically in a car accident or through a fall. But my clients often speak to an insurance company before they talk to me. So I want to give some advice and some tips and just explain what are the best practices in talking to an insurance company. After something happens, the most common type of case I have is probably a car accident. So after there's a car accident, someone's hurt, there's often three different types of insurance companies that may contact the person who's hurt. The first type of insurance I want to talk about is a client's own auto insurance policy. It's important, the general takeaway from this whole talk will be you need to be careful in talking to insurance companies. And different types of insurance require different levels of care. Typically, talking to your own auto insurance policy is not terribly dangerous. Most people are talking to first of all, you should always call your auto insurance company and tell them about an accident that happened. You have to give them notice. But most people are talking to their own insurance company right away to deal with property damage. It's very common that's dealt with without me, that people handle that all on their own. It's something that most people need to have that vehicle repaired or replaced right away to keep going with their everyday lives. And it's usually pretty safe to talk to your own auto insurance company, particularly if you're talking about property damage. I would recommend that a little more care be used if you're talking to your own insurance company, and that's the company on your car. Sometimes you may have a situation where the other driver that hit you has the same insurance. Those should be separate people, even if it's the same company, even if you both have Progressive or you both have American Family or you both have State Farm. There will be different people calling, whether it's for your auto insurance policy or the other driver's policy. When you're talking to your own personal auto insurance carrier, talking to them about property damage is typically something most people can handle on their own, and they can take care of that. I do encourage a little bit of caution when talking about your injuries. There may be someone talking to you about medical payments coverage. Most auto policies have a backup health plan called medical payments coverage. They may ask you about different injuries you sustained in the accident. Again, it's usually okay to be talking to your own auto insurance company, but it's something we want to be careful about as well. The concern is that when there is some kind of accident or crash, right away, people might not know what's hurt or not. It may take a week or two, or it may be something that you know there's an injury to your shoulder, for example, but you think it's probably going to get better and go away. If that problem doesn't get better and suddenly you end up needing to have a surgery, we don't want your auto insurance company to think that, well, that shoulder problem, even though it started with the accident, it was probably caused by something else. You want to be a little bit vague when talking about your injuries. A general line I tell people whenever I talk about your injuries is to say, well, I'm doing my best to get better and I'll talk to you soon. But like I said, there's really three types of insurance that are likely going to be involved right after some kind of car crash. The first being talking to your own auto insurance. That's okay. That's usually pretty safe. It's often what people do to talk about property damage. The second type of insurance that may be involved is your health insurance, the client's health insurance. So if someone's hurt, it's still a good idea to have your medical bills paid for by your health insurance. It's not a good idea for people to say, well, this was caused by the car accident, the other driver's insurance has to pay. Your health insurance company may send you a letter asking, was your injury caused by a car accident or a fall or a workplace injury? It's okay to talk to your health insurance company to fill out those forms because we want your health insurance company to still be providing your health care needs, providing the payment for those services. We'll talk about this, but with any of these things, if anyone has questions, they're always welcome to call me. but typically those areas are safe for people to handle on their own without me. The third type of insurance, which requires much more caution and care, is when talking to the other driver's insurance company. In the context of a personal injury case, we would call this the defendant driver's insurance company, or the legal term, which is fun to say but kind of bizarre, is the tortfeasor, the person who did something wrong, the wrongdoer's insurance company. That is the area where you need to have the most care. The overall goal of the wrongdoer's insurance company is to pay you as little as possible for your injuries. And they often want to try to trap people into making statements or taking positions, like I mentioned before. Let's say someone has a shoulder injury. Perhaps it was their shoulder in the seatbelt may have caused some bruising, and they think they're going to be okay. The instant a person tells the defendant insurance company, the wrongdoer's insurance company, sure, I have this problem, but I think it's going to be okay, that immediately starts to minimize what the insurance company is envisioning as far as that claim and the injuries. And honestly, most of us just don't know. We don't know where our medical treatment is going to go. I think it's important that when talking to the other driver, the wrongdoer's insurance company, that people be very vague when talking about their injuries. So let's kind of focus on that part and talk about, how does this all start? How do people find out you exist? Sometimes when there's an exchange after a crash, there may be an exchange of insurance information. So perhaps you're the one reaching out to the other driver's insurance company. If you don't do that, once the accident report is released, your contact information is included in that. And at that point, it's very common that the wrongdoer's insurance company would reach out to you and contact you. Other people may start calling or sending letters once the accident report is issued by the police. They are public records that people can access. You may receive letters from lawyers saying you need to call us and we'll help you out. You may receive contact from the other driver's insurance company, like I mentioned. I think one thing everybody needs to know is that you are not required to talk to the other driver's insurance company. There is no rule that says you have to talk to them. There's no legal obligation for that. There may be threatening messages left. Most probably aren't threatening, but there may be some that sound imperative and threatening, that you have to talk to us. We can't pay any sort of claim unless you talk to us today. There are no legal requirements that you speak to an insurance company right after an accident happens. Sometimes I hear from clients that an insurance adjuster said, well, if you don't call me back today, I'm going to close my file. That doesn't mean anything legally. It's the equivalent of me telling you I had oatmeal for breakfast today. It doesn't matter. They can close their file. That's just an internal procedure. It doesn't affect your legal rights. It's really important, if someone is going to talk to the defense insurance company, that the person is in a good place mentally. Many times after a crash, someone may have a head injury. It may be a concussion, it may be a headache, or it may be a mental status that's altered by being on pain meds. Those are not good times to be talking to an insurance company. And unfortunately, sometimes there's people I work with who suffer traumatic brain injuries in an accident. The crash causes a head injury, which has some long-term brain impacts. There's no reason for a person in that condition to be talking to the wrongdoer's insurance company. You're not in a good frame of mind. They're not going to get good information. And I've come into cases before where really bizarre things were said that just make no sense. I worked with a gentleman who had a head injury, and the initial report from the insurance company said that he fell while riding a horse. There was no horse involved. This was an incident in a parking lot. Those sort of pressures people feel to talk to an insurance company are unfounded. You don't need to have those. You can go ahead and just say, number one, these days, does anyone really take a call you don't recognize? You can dodge their calls. You don't have to respond to the other wrongdoers insurance company to talk about your injuries. You can, if you pick up the call and you get a phone call and you don't want to talk to them, you can say, I'm really sorry, I'm busy right now. I recommend people be polite. You can say, I'm really sorry, I'm busy right now. Could I give you a call back later? That's perfectly fine to do as well. If you do decide to talk to the wrongdoer's insurance company, the defense insurance company, about your injuries, I recommend, like I said, you be kind of broad and vague, that I just want to see where I'm going. I'm not really ready to talk about my injuries right now. I want to see how I do, and I'll call you back once I'm feeling better. In addition, you'll be asked, can I record you? Or you understand that this call is recorded and it could be used in a court of law. There is no reason you have to agree to that. You can say, I'm sorry, I don't really feel comfortable being recorded. No, I don't give you my permission to be recorded. You are not required to give a recorded statement. That's not something that you have to do. It's just not a good idea immediately after a crash for anyone to be giving detailed advice to the defendant insurance company. There's too much information that could be construed against you. You know, even as simple as, you know, hi Megan, I'm calling you about your car accident. How are you doing today? And Megan responds, oh, I'm fine, because that's how normal people talk. But now we have a record from the insurance company that Megan is fine 3 days after her car crash, when in fact she may have her foot in a cast and be unable to weight bear and walk. We don't want to have misconceptions that everyone's okay, and that is how we talk as people. When you're going through the checkout at Target and the clerk says, how are you today? You don't say, I'm having a terrible day, actually. Everything in my life is awful. Even if that is true, that's not how we communicate. We put a positive spin on it. Conversations with the defense insurance company are not a time to put a positive spin on your reality. So the best thing to do is to kind of hold back. So to recap, when we're talking to insurance companies, it's usually pretty safe to talk to your own insurance company. There are times that can be somewhat risky. If the other driver who struck you does not have insurance, then you're filing a claim against your own insurance company under an uninsured motorist claim. Now your own insurance company becomes the defendant. So it's in general best to kind of be vague about injuries and not provide a lot of detail, and to say polite things such as, I just want to work on getting better. I'll call you once I know more, and keep those conversations short. Talking to your health insurance is usually okay and required to have them keep paying for your medical care. And then your biggest area of caution is going to be anytime you're talking to the defense, the wrongdoer's insurance company. There's no reason that anyone needs to be doing this by themselves. I'm more than happy to talk to people. If there's plenty of people I tell that here's the law, here's your rights, here's your responsibilities. This is a type of claim I think you can handle on your own, and I give people advice on how to do that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with if an insurance company calls you after a crash and you say, I'm not prepared to talk right now, thank you, I'll give you a call back soon, and to just leave it at that. Call me. Call me and I'll talk you through it to see if you need help. I'll tell you if I think you need the help of a lawyer and what that would entail. And I'm sure we'll have a different video someday on what it means to hire a lawyer. But seeking legal advice early is an important step to take. All of these types of claims have some kind of time limit by which the case must be resolved or a lawsuit started. And it's really in your best interest to find out what are your legal rights and obligations and what can you do to get that information. So the best way to call me is our phone number. It's area code 920-831-0300. We do have offices in Appleton and Green Bay. It's not unusual at all that when people have severe injury claims that their car is totaled or they're injured, and I come to their house to see them. In addition, today, like now, you know, we have these video conferencing tools. So I've met with clients via Zoom and other ways. We're happy to do that as well. If you want to have some more information, you can also contact us through our website. Again, the law firm is Peterson, Berk & Cross. The website is pbclaw.com or foxriverlawyers.com. And you'll find my information again at that website as well for email. There's no obligation. We have free consultations. There's no obligation to call and to pay anything. I just want to make sure that people have good advice and they know what they're doing before they go into these conversations with insurance companies, because the deck is really stacked against the average person. Thank you, everyone, for your time. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. Like I said, don't hesitate to call if you have questions. Take care.